The sun was barely up when I started packing the last of my gear into the back of the Land Rover. The dew on the windshield shimmered, and the only sound around was the low whir of Marcus's electric cooler humming to life. I checked the lens cases twice, my checklist 3 times. This was how I liked it: precise, controlled, and quiet. "You're going to shoot the entire forest into extinction at this rate," Marcus said, hoisting a tripod over his shoulder and grinning. He was still in his cargo vest and boots from yesterday, like he never went to bed. "Just want to make sure everything's in place," I said, securing the last lock on the waterproof case. "That black-billed cuckoo isn't going to wait around for me to forget a lens." "Bird nerd perfectionist," he teased. "Love it. My name is James Delaney. I'm 38 years old. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, with my wife, Eliza. I've been a nature photographer for nearly 2 decades, mostly solo work, but every now and then, I drag Marcus along when the terrain gets nasty enough to make it fun. Marcus is a field biologist and my closest friend since college. We met in an ornithology seminar and haven't shut up about birds since." Marcus clicked the hatch shut and gave it a good thump. "She all set?" "All set," I confirmed, wiping my hands on my jeans. From the porch, Eliza raised her coffee mug toward us in a lazy wave. "Try not to fall off a cliff," she called out. "Not planning to," I said. "I'm going to use the alone time to finally catch up on my writing," she added, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Finally," Marcus muttered under his breath, so only I could hear. I didn't respond. I just gave her a nod, which she returned before turning her attention back to her laptop. Eliza was a writer, or at least, she used to be. These days, I wasn't sure what she did with her time. She hadn't published anything in almost 2 years. Said she had a novel in progress, but all I ever saw were unfinished outlines and empty wine bottles by the recycling bin. Marcus leaned toward me as I climbed into the driver's seat. "Cabin's off-grid for cell service. We'll have intermittent satellite internet if needed. You got your inReach, right?" I tapped my chest pocket. "Always." We hit the road just after 7, tires crunching over gravel as the house shrank behind us. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Eliza was still on the porch, legs curled under her, typing with one hand and holding her mug with the other. "She doesn't seem too broken up about you leaving," Marcus said. "Yeah, well," I muttered, "for days isn't a lifetime." But as the town fell away and the trees grew taller around us, something about the way she hadn't kissed me goodbye kept looping in my head. 4 days. That's all it was supposed to be. 4 days of hiking, shooting, and silence. But it was the silence I didn't know to be afraid of. The cabin was about as remote as it gets, 30 miles from the nearest paved road and surrounded by nothing but forest, sky, and the kind of silence that made your ears ring. By day 2, we had already hiked 6 miles into the preserve and captured footage of a breeding pair of red-shouldered hawks. I was in the zone, hyper-focused, dialed in, living for that perfect frame. That night, we were back at the cabin after sunset. I was sitting at the table with my camera in my lap, scrubbing through footage on the viewfinder. The hiss of the gas stove filled the room as Marcus made tea, his laptop open next to the kettle, screen casting a bluish glow against the wood-paneled walls. "You got good light on that raptor sequence?" he asked, eyes still on his screen. "Mid-morning. Couldn't ask for better." "Nice," he said, not really listening. I glanced over. "What are you looking at?" "Nothing," he said too quickly, tapping a key. "Just killing time." I went back to my footage, zooming in on a slow-motion shot of a chick being fed. About a minute passed. Then I heard the sound of a mouse clicking. Repeatedly. Fast. Like someone navigating in panic. I turned to look at him. "You good?" Marcus's brows were pulled tight, jaw clenched. He didn't answer. Just slowly swiveled his laptop toward me. "Tell me this isn't Eliza." It took half a second to confirm it. The profile picture wasn't graphic, but it was unmistakably her, shoulder-length blonde hair, that little birthmark above her collarbone. Even the dress I gave her last year on our anniversary. She was standing in the mirror, posing just enough to let the camera know she wasn't shy. Underneath the image was the profile name, writer by _plays by night. Location, Asheville, North Carolina. Status, looking for something discreet and intense. I didn't say anything. My eyes scanned the page while Marcus sat motionless, waiting for me to react. The bio was worse than the photo. Married, but craving something primal. Love roleplay, especially scenarios where the man takes charge. Must be tall, quiet, and dangerous. Prefer men with rugged outdoorsy looks. Bonus points if you remind me of someone who wouldn't approve. Jesus Christ, I whispered. The site was for casual hookups. No real names, just bios and private messaging. But there was no mistaking who this was. That's the dress I got her, I said. The blue one with the open back. We went out to the marketplace that night. Yeah, Marcus said quietly. This wasn't a one-off thing. She's been active. Last login was 2 days ago. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering in my chest. Not because I was angry, at least not yet. Mostly I felt detached, like I was looking at someone else's life. Click the messages, I said. He hesitated. You sure? Click them. There were a few conversations, nothing super graphic, but enough. She'd been talking to multiple men, all recent. Most of them had usernames like Adventurous Dom and Need Control Now. The worst part? One of them looked like me. Same hair, beard, build, down to the same Patagonia jacket I wore last winter. In one message, she'd even written, reminds me of someone who's never home. That's when it hit me. This wasn't new. This wasn't about being lonely. This was premeditated. I pushed the laptop away and stood up, the chair scraping hard against the floor. James, Marcus started. I need air, I muttered. I need a second. Outside, the woods were quiet. The air smelled like pine and wet earth. But all I could think about was that dress. That message. That line about someone who wouldn't approve. And the way she smiled when I left. Like she was already free. Marcus didn't say much after I came back inside. He just handed me a cup of tea and sat across from me, watching the steam rise between us. You want to head back early? He finally asked. I didn't answer right away. I was staring at the table, running my thumb along a scratch in the wood. No, I said. Not yet. We could call her out. Ask her directly. I shook my head. No point. She'll lie. She's good at that. He looked at me carefully. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we catch her in the act. Not just texts and photos. I want her caught red-handed. No excuses. No spin. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You want me to be the bait? I looked up. You okay with that? He gave a slow nod. Yeah, I'll message her tonight. It felt like a plan started to form in the space between our cups. Controlled. Focused. Clean. We didn't touch our cameras for the rest of the night. Instead, Marcus set up a burner profile on the HOOKUP site, using a blurred-out photo of himself from a few years back. Eliza's preferences were easy to match. Rugged, tall, bearded. The kind of guy who looked like he could build a fire from scratch and make her forget she ever lived in the suburbs. He sent a short message. Passing through town. Looking for something low-key but exciting. You free this weekend? She replied in under an hour. Possibly. My husband's out of town. Might have some company coming over already, but could shift things around. Marcus showed me the message without saying anything. I didn't react. See if she'll meet at our house, I said. He hesitated. You sure? Dead sure. By midnight, it was confirmed. She'd invited Ryan over to the house, our house, on Saturday night. She said it would have to be quick because she already had someone lined up Friday. That made 2 in the span of one weekend. 2 different men. In my home. In our bed, probably. We left the next morning before sunrise. Neither of us slept. We took turns driving through the night, trading control of the wheel like we were hauling precious cargo. The gear stayed packed. We didn't speak much. It was just long stretches of silence, broken by the occasional GPS recalculation or the hiss of the thermos lid. We rolled into Asheville just before 4 in the morning. And there it was. Our driveway. Our house. Our porch light still glowing. Except parked at the curb was a dark red sedan. Engine cold. Empty coffee cup on the dash. Plates from out of state. I pulled to the side, cutting the engine. My hands were clenched around the wheel. Let's go, I said, already reaching for the door. But Marcus grabbed my arm. Don't, he said. Not yet. I need to see it. I know. But if you go in now, all you'll get is yelling. Maybe a fight. No proof. No leverage. You go in angry, you lose. I sat back, breathing hard. He was right. I hated it, but he was right. So we waited. Silent. Still. Like hunters in the dark. We waited until just before sunrise to move. Eliza always slept late on weekends. If she had someone in the house, they'd either be gone by now or still asleep. Either way, we had a small window. Marcus parked 2 blocks down, and we cut through a neighbor's yard to reach the back of the property. I'd installed that wooden side gate myself 3 summers ago. Eliza always forgot to lock it. This morning was no exception. The latch clicked open with a soft push. The backyard was exactly as I left it. Same lawn chairs, same overturned flower pot Eliza kept saying she'd fix. Except now, I couldn't unsee it. That this was a place someone else had stood. Someone she invited in. We slipped inside through the back door, moving slow and quiet. She never used the alarm system when I was away. Said it made her feel like a prisoner in her own home. Her choice. Marcus handled the tech. He came prepared with 2 mini cloud cams, motion-activated and disguised inside ordinary objects. One went inside the bookshelf facing the living room couch. The other inside a fake phone charger he plugged into our bedroom outlet. I'll link both to a secure cloud. You can view everything from my laptop, he whispered. I nodded, avoiding the bed as I walked around the room. My own t-shirts were still in the hamper. A new pair of heels, ones I hadn't seen before, were tucked neatly under the dresser. Her side of the closet looked freshly organized. I checked the bathroom. New toothbrush in the cup. Men's deodorant under the sink. Not mine. Back in the living room, I pulled open the filing drawer. Marriage license. Insurance documents. My birth certificate. I took what mattered, just the ones with my name on them, and tucked them into my pack. 1 drawer down, 2 to go. Why not just confront her now? Marcus asked. She'd fold in a second. Because folding isn't enough, I said. I want to burn the bridge, not patch it. We left the house before Eliza could stir. Back at Marcus's apartment, I spent the rest of the day in a daze, half listening as he set up the surveillance feed. By that evening, the first alert pinged his laptop. Motion detected at 7:14 p.m. Eliza, in a short silk robe, greeted a man in our living room. Mid-30s, fit, tattoo on his wrist. They kissed like it wasn't the first time. A bottle of red wine was already open. Marcus muted the volume, but I didn't need sound. Later that night, another notification. This time, someone new. Different build. Older. She didn't kiss him, just pulled him in by the belt and led him down the hallway like she was giving a tour. I watched both clips twice, then closed the laptop. There weren't any tears. No yelling. Just silence. I felt like I was watching someone else's life, someone else's house, someone else's wife. Marcus watched me carefully. You okay? No, I said. But I'm past being mad. Then what are you? I sat back, feeling the emptiness crawl through my chest. I think I'm done. By Monday morning, the plan had shifted from damage control to execution. Marcus called in a favor from an old friend, Evelyn Brooks, a sharp, relentless divorce attorney who specialized in high-conflict cases. She agreed to meet that afternoon in her downtown office, a place that smelled like leather and quiet victory. Evelyn didn't waste time with small talk. She sat across from me, reading through the printouts we'd brought, screenshots of Eliza's hookup profile, the surveillance stills, a calendar of dates that lined up too well. When she looked up, her eyes were unreadable. You want out? Yes, I said, but not loud. Not yet. She leaned back in her chair, fingers steepled. You want leverage. I want her blindsided. Evelyn nodded. Then here's how we do this. No confrontation. No accusations. You keep acting like nothing's wrong. Meanwhile, I'll help you reposition everything. Assets, accounts, passwords, title transfers. When we file, she won't have time to lie, much less react. I nodded. Whatever it takes. The next 48 hours were a blur of phone calls and documents. Marcus helped me open a private checking account, then sat beside me at the bank as I transferred half our joint savings into it. Just enough to protect myself, not enough to raise suspicion. Evelyn had me reroute my direct deposit and cancel all automatic bill payments tied to Eliza. We changed my cell phone plan to a new provider with a new number. I left the old SIM card active in a burner phone I kept charging at home, just so Eliza wouldn't suspect anything. Evelyn's advice was simple. Act normal, stay quiet, and let her keep talking. But silence alone wasn't enough. So we tested her nerves. Marcus used a private number to call the house that Wednesday night. He put on a casual, cheerful tone and said he was from a nearby urgent care center. Hi, this is Josh from Valley Pines Medical. Just wanted to let you know your husband's fine. Bit of a sprain, mild dehydration, but he's resting up. Might come home early just to be safe. There was a pause on the line. Then Eliza's voice, tight, breathy. He's coming home? Could be. We're still waiting on a final checkup. Just wanted to give you a heads up. She hung up in a hurry. Within the hour, the feed on Marcus's laptop showed her pacing the living room with her phone glued to her ear. A few minutes later, she canceled the dinner reservation we'd found on her calendar. The next night, no guests arrived. And for the first time in days, our bedroom stayed empty. Marcus smirked as he closed the laptop. She's sweating. She should be, I said, watching her freeze frame on the screen. She wasn't sorry. She was scared, and we were just getting started. We watched the house for 2 more days from a distance. Me and Marcus's beat-up Subaru parked down the block, engine off, windows cracked, like we were teenagers on a stakeout. It was quiet until Friday afternoon. That's when he showed up. Early 20s, tall, wearing skinny jeans and a cheap leather jacket like he thought it made him look dangerous. He parked his car 2 doors down and walked up to our house with a duffel bag in hand. I recognized him from the footage. The Thursday guy, the one who didn't even kiss her on the way in. I gripped the door handle, already halfway out of the car. Marcus put a hand on my chest. Think it through. I am. James. I stepped out anyway. The kid had just rung the doorbell. He turned around as I approached, probably thinking I was the neighbor or some delivery guy. You lost? I asked, standing between him and the porch. He gave me a confused smile. I'm looking for Eliza. She's not here. Oh, she said. She's married. His face shifted. What? She didn't tell you? I tilted my head. Yeah, this is her house. I'm her husband. I watched the words settle in. He looked from me to the door and then back again, his posture shrinking. Look, man, I didn't know. I believe you, I said, calm but firm. But let me give you some advice. You see a woman who hides her ring, tells stories about a sad marriage, wants to sneak around while her husband's gone? Walk away. He nodded, already backing off. Yeah, I get it. Sorry, man. He turned and nearly jogged back to his car. I stood there for a few seconds, just breathing. Then I walked back to the Subaru. Marcus didn't say a word, just started the engine and pulled away. That night, the second guy showed up. I recognized him too. Older, maybe mid-40s, the one who'd brought wine on Monday. But this time, he didn't make it inside. We watched from the laptop feed as Eliza opened the front door, stepped out, and talked to him in a hushed voice. He looked confused, then frustrated. She shook her head, crossing her arms like she was shutting it down. After a minute, he got back in his car and left. She's spooked, Marcus said. Thought you might come home. She's trying to play it safe. I watched her sit on the couch alone. She poured herself a glass of wine, but didn't drink it. Just stared at her phone like she was waiting for a text that wasn't coming. She's unraveling, I said, just like Evelyn said she would. I felt no joy in it. No rush of justice or revenge. Just this cold, dull ache that sat behind my ribs. I could have burst through the door that afternoon and told the kid everything. Could have screamed at Eliza from the lawn, shattered whatever facade she was still clinging to. But I didn't, because now I was in control, and silence had become my sharpest weapon. 2 days later, Evelyn called. James, I need you in my office. Now. Her tone wasn't her usual lawyer calm. It was sharp, urgent, and final. Marcus offered to drive. I didn't argue. When we got there, Evelyn had a manila folder already on the table, her lips pressed in a thin line. She slid it toward me. I pulled some medical records from your insurance portal. The ones Eliza's been using the last 6 months. I opened the folder slowly. There it was, OBGYN visits, fertility assessments, hormone level checks. And buried in the notes, a flagged consultation summary dated 3 weeks ago. Subject is exploring assisted conception options. Patient inquires about ideal window for unprotected intercourse based on donor traits. Preference noted for male partners with similar hair/eye color and build to current spouse. The paper shook slightly in my hands. She's been trying to get pregnant, I said flatly. Evelyn nodded once. Without your knowledge. Without your consent. But we already tried. We were doing tests last year. Your test showed low motility, she said. She stopped bringing you to appointments after that, didn't she? I nodded slowly, the puzzle pieces clicking into place like falling dominoes. She gave up on me. She planned this, Evelyn said. Scheduled encounters with men who looked like you. During ovulation windows. Hoping to pass off a pregnancy as yours. My mouth went dry. I sat back in the chair, the office suddenly too small. This wasn't just cheating, she added. This was premeditated deceit. She's trying to build a life off a lie and pin you into it. Marcus sat across from me, silent, his jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the floor. She would have let me raise that kid like it was mine, I said. Built a future around it. Let me pay for it. Love it. Evelyn reached over and touched my hand lightly. You're not crazy. This is as calculated as it gets. I nodded, swallowing hard. I thought she was just selfish, I whispered. But this is something else. You're filing, Evelyn said. No more waiting. No more games. I didn't argue. She slid a new stack of documents across the table. I'll use every bit of this. The photos, the surveillance, the fertility records. She'll be lucky if she walks away with a drawer full of spoons. I stared down at the page, my signature line already highlighted in yellow. For the first time in days, I felt the ache behind my ribs shift, still hollow, but steadier now. Grounded. I picked up the pen, signed my name. And just like that, I stopped being her husband in my heart, even if the court hadn't stamped it yet. Evelyn packed the folder and stood. I'll handle the fire, she said. You just keep walking through the smoke. Outside, the sun was low in the sky, and somewhere, Eliza was still staring at her phone, waiting for a message that would never come. It was Evelyn's idea to make the first strike. She needs to hear it from me, she said. Controlled. Legal. No drama. She'll try to play the victim if you do it yourself. We're not giving her that runway. So we set the trap. Evelyn used my old number, the one Eliza still thought was mine. She waited until late afternoon, just past 4, when Eliza was usually home from whatever part-time freelance gig she pretended to have. A quiet time of day, when the house was still and her guard would be down. I sat across from Evelyn in her office as she dialed. Eliza picked up after 2 rings. James. Her voice was tight, uncertain. Hi, Eliza, Evelyn said coolly. This isn't James. My name is Evelyn Brooks. I'm his attorney. There was a pause on the other end. Then a quiet, what? I'm calling to inform you that James is formally filing for divorce. You'll be served within the next 48 hours. More silence. Then Eliza's voice, suddenly breathless, urgent. Wait, what? Why? Can I talk to him? Evelyn didn't flinch. I'm afraid not. All communications will go through me from this point forward. No, wait. Her voice cracked. Please, I don't understand. This has to be some mistake. We're just going through a rough patch, that's all. Can I please speak to James? Evelyn's tone remained measured. We're in possession of digital correspondence, images, and video footage. I believe you know what I'm referring to. A beat. Then Eliza whispered, Oh my God. There's more, Evelyn continued. We also have documentation from your medical visits. Evidence of intentional deception regarding attempts to conceive with multiple partners, without your husband's knowledge or consent. No, that's not what you think, Eliza said quickly. I wasn't going to go through with it. You'll receive a formal proposal with division terms and conditions by week's end. James is not seeking vengeance. He's offering fairness. But he is done. I heard Eliza's breath catch. Then, barely audible. Please. I need to talk to him. He doesn't understand. It wasn't what it looked like. Evelyn didn't blink. He understands perfectly. On Evelyn's laptop screen, the call timer ticked upward, second by second. I was scared, Eliza whispered. I didn't think he'd ever give me a family. I just wanted us to feel whole. It wasn't just sex. It wasn't. Evelyn didn't answer right away. She turned her gaze to me. I nodded. James is here, she said. He's chosen not to speak. He asked me to let you know, this is final. There was a long pause, then a choking sound, and then the line was filled with her sobbing. I'm sorry, she said through the tears. Please tell him I'm sorry. I never meant. Evelyn cut in, her voice clipped. You're not being punished, Eliza. You're being released. Then she hung up. We sat in silence for a while. I expected to feel rage, or maybe satisfaction, but all I felt was tired. She broke the trust in every way that matters, Evelyn said softly. You still showed her mercy. I didn't do it for her, I replied. I did it for me. She gave a slow nod. And now you can move on. Clean. As I stood to leave, I looked out the window. The city kept moving. People walking, cars passing, life carrying on like none of this ever happened. Evelyn looked at me one last time. That silence back there, that was everything she didn't expect. I nodded. And everything she deserved. I moved out 3 days later. Didn't say a word to Eliza. Didn't leave a note. Just waited until I knew she was gone, then packed my things in silence, one drawer at a time. I took only what was mine, my gear, my clothes, a few framed prints from my first photography exhibit. Everything else, I left behind. Even the espresso machine I bought her for our anniversary. Let her keep the artifacts of a life she had already hollowed out. The condo I rented was small and quiet, tucked on the edge of downtown Asheville. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom with tall windows and enough space to breathe. No reminders of her. No ghosts. The first night alone, I couldn't sleep. Not because I missed her, but because the quiet was too pure, too undisturbed. For years, I thought the weight I carried was normal. That being the dependable one meant absorbing every disappointment in silence. But now I realized, I wasn't built for silence like that. I was built for peace. There's a difference. Therapy helped. Marcus recommended someone, Dr. Fields, a middle-aged guy with kind eyes and an office full of plants and abstract art. At first, I hated every minute of it. But then, one session, he said something that stuck. You're not grieving her. You're grieving the version of yourself that kept trying to fix what was already broken. That hit me in the chest. Because he was right. It wasn't just betrayal I was dealing with. It was the slow burn of years spent trying to hold together a marriage that only one of us was really in. Eliza didn't want a partner. She wanted an audience. And I was done clapping. Work helped too. I started traveling again. Day trips to Blue Ridge, a week in Montana, even a foggy shoreline shoot in Oregon that left my boots full of salt and my lungs full of clarity. I photographed rare herons and owls, even caught a bobcat on camera one crisp morning near Lake Lure. For the first time in years, I lost track of time without guilt. Eliza tried to reach out, first with emails, then letters. The tone shifted from denial to apology to longing. She said she missed our rhythm, that she never realized how much she depended on me until the silence became real. I read them all, then deleted or tossed every single one. Because I didn't need closure from her. I already had it from myself. Sometimes I still think about those days in the cabin, about how fast everything changed. But I never regret finding the truth. Painful as it was, it freed me. She made her choice. And now I was finally making mine. Peace over illusion. Solitude over betrayal. And life. Real, honest life. Over anything I left behind. The final mediation took place in late spring. The kind of warm, brittle day where the breeze smells like cut grass and car exhaust. I showed up early, dressed clean but simple, just a gray button-down and jeans. No performance. No statement. Just a man closing a chapter. Evelyn met me at the front doors of the legal center. She's already here, she said. Brought counsel this time. You ready? I nodded. Let's finish it. Inside the room, Eliza sat across the table, hair tied back, eyes red but dry. She looked older, smaller. The performative confidence I'd known for years was gone. In its place was something more fragile, more real. Or maybe just broken. Her lawyer, a younger guy with a reputation for drawn-out negotiations, started with a mild challenge. We're requesting spousal support in the range of. Evelyn cut him off. We've already provided documentation that your client has been cohabiting with multiple partners during the marriage. We're prepared to file under fault-based grounds, infidelity and marital fraud, supported by both physical and digital evidence. The lawyer hesitated. Eliza stared at her lap. Evelyn leaned forward. So, unless your client wants to see this entire process dragged through public court, we suggest accepting our terms. He cleared his throat. We're willing to proceed with the existing proposal. Evelyn slid the finalized agreement across the table. Eliza didn't move. Ms. Delaney, her lawyer whispered. We're advising acceptance. Her hands trembled as she picked up the pen. Before I sign, she said quietly, eyes still down. Can I ask something? Evelyn looked at me. I nodded once. Eliza raised her eyes to mine. Did you ever think we'd come back from this? Before you knew? I thought for a moment. No, I said softly. I think I was already gone. I just didn't know it yet. She nodded slowly, then signed her name. Evelyn handed the paperwork to the mediator. There's also the matter of potential paternity. Already confirmed, the mediator said. No pregnancy resulted. Nothing further to address. That was a strange relief. If she'd gotten pregnant, if that had been part of the damage, I honestly don't know how I would have handled it. As the mediator collected the documents, Eliza looked up one last time. I'm sorry, James, she said. Her voice cracked slightly. Not just for what I did, but for what I destroyed. I gave a small nod. Thank you for your honesty. No anger. No hatred. Just the truth. Cold, quiet, final. Outside, the world kept moving. Evelyn walked beside me as we stepped into the sunlight. You kept the high ground, she said. Not a lot of people could have done that. Didn't feel like a win, I admitted. It's not, she replied. It's an ending. We stood on the steps a while longer. People passed us, talking, laughing, carrying coffees and tote bags, oblivious to the kind of war that just ended behind those doors. I looked up at the sky. Then I looked forward. Because what came next was mine to decide. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't leaving anything behind. I was walking towards something.